Let me begin by saying that everyone in this room is important to our mission. It's really hard to believe that next year marks 100 years of service to our nation's disabled veterans, enabling them to lead prosperous lives with respect and dignity. A lot has changed in our country in the last 100 years, obviously, and a lot has changed in the DAV, but our commitment to our nation's disabled veterans has never changed. That's not to say that there has never been times when our future was in doubt. And in that vein, I want to tell you a story, okay? And I'm going to start from the very beginning. As a very young man, the age of 4 to be precise, I decided that I wanted to be a Marine. My father had taken me to an air show in Lubbock, Texas at Reese Air Force Base, and the only thing I really remember about that air show was we were walking across this big black thing, turns out to be a tarmac, and this person walked by with khaki blouse, a white barracks cap, blue trousers with a red stripe, and I said, "Dad, what is that?" And he said, "That's a Marine." That's what I wanted to be. And I finally made it at the age of 17. I went into the United States Marine Corps. Now, you heard my resume. The worst day of my life was June the 5th, 1969. Okay, I tripped a booby trap. I was no longer a Marine. The best day of my life was June the 5th, 1969. I had a whole new life in front of me. All of you in the room know that at some point in time, your life changed in an instant, and you had to learn to do more with what you had and do it better. What I did was I became a DAV National Service Officer. At the time, it was the best job I could find. I was delivering water for my father in Carlsbad, New Mexico, and I guarantee you 5-gallon bottles of water on your shoulder are not fun all day long. But I had the opportunity, and I went to work for the DAV as a National Service Officer, and I managed to become the Assistant Supervisor in the Waco National Service Office in 3 years. It took me 17 years to get the supervisor's position because I couldn't run the supervisor off. But I finally did, and I got it. In 1992, I became the National Service Office Supervisor. Now this is where the story begins to change. Life was good in DAV. Life is still good in DAV, but life was good to us in the early days when I was young. They took care of us. The National Assistant, Denville D. Adams, we all called him Dale. He loved the DAV, he loved his service officers, and he took care of us. In 1988, Dale decided he was going to retire. Now that's a sad day for most of us, but he decided that he wanted to have appointed in his place a gentleman by the name of Charles E. Butch Jokel. And Butch was a nice guy. Butch was a good guy. He was a double amputee, Army, I think. Anyway, we didn't hold that against him. Anyway, Butch was a nice guy, and he had some lofty goals and some interesting thoughts and ideas. And over a period of 4 years, he managed to turn the National Service Program upside down. He decided that maybe we should go in a different direction, and I'm not going to be derogatory, but he decided that NSOs were not necessary to the organization. So he told us that if we lost a service officer, I had a 7-man office. He said, if you lose a service officer, that's it. And I did. I lost 3 in a 6-month period. So I'm working a 7-man office with 4 service officers. The word started going out that Butch what he was what he was, and that Dale Adams was going to come back if the NSOs would support him. And Art Wilson was there with us, and Fred Bristol. So we're thinking, okay, so how is this going to work? Well, they found somebody to run for national office. I brought some paraphernalia here.
All right.
It says elect Dick Marbs, national commander.
All right.
And what it says underneath that is put service first. And then here's a big one. It says elect Dick Marbs, national commander. So we all decided Dick was the first junior vice commander, and Don Sias was second junior vice commander. So Dick says to us that I'll support you, and if I'm elected, then I'm going to protect you, and yada, yada, yada. And we're thinking, yeah, sure. Now we don't have to. So in August, was it August, Dick, when we went to Frisco?
Yeah.
The Butch had decided that NSOs weren't necessary at the National Convention, and he was only bringing 50 at a time. The rest of us stayed back and worked. So we got word that, I'll tell you some more about what Butch was doing in just a minute, but we got word that if we were going to get Dick elected, we had to get to the National Convention on our own. So there was 4 of us in my office, and we found out that Southwest was having airfare for 1. The second one was a penny. So the 4 of us bought 2 tickets and 2 penny tickets. And we flew to San Francisco, and we paid for our own room. But Butch had managed to get sued by an NSO's wife for improper sexual advances. And she won, and it was $80,000, I believe. Butch paid that out of DAV funds. A nice guy, right? And the other thing, and a former friend of mine had part in this, but our bylaws tell us that we will not support legislation that pertains to non-service connected veterans. We won't oppose it, but we won't support it. But we will defend legislation, or that we will oppose legislation that's detrimental to service-connected veterans. Butch had gotten I'm not going to use that word. Butch had made friends with a congressman, and they had come up with a plan that they were not going to pay 10% service-connected veterans anymore. And Butch was going to have DAV support that. So it was time to get rid of them. 1973, we went to San Francisco. Let me back up. In June of 1973, I went to Houston to the department convention, and it looked like a national convention when I walked through the door. Dick was there, Art Wilson was there, Dale Adams was there, Butch Joker was there, Charles Letjohn was there. Y'all don't know any of these people, but I do. And they were all big shots, both sides, and it was a war zone. Somebody brought up today about arguing at a department convention and fussing and pushing and shoving. In 1973 in Houston, Texas, it was some fist fights. 93, I'm sorry. In 1993, there was some fist fights, and these were old guys. They were older than me. And they're out there pushing each other and swinging it, and nobody could hit anybody. They weren't fast enough. But they made it look good. They'd fall down every once in a while and get up and swing again. Anyway, and the whole idea was we listened to Dale. Dale gets up and he talks his case, and then Butch gets up and talks his case, and then they have some more fist fights. And then Dick got up and made some comments, and the senior vice commander for the DAV was there, and he got up and made some comments, and so then we had a vote who we were going to support, Butch or Dale. Well, Dale won, but it was squeaky. It was real close. Anyway, then we get to Frisco, and that's even worse. I told my wife, we'd been married for 4 years. And I'm going to back up a little bit. They finally let me hire a trainee, Rob Luigi. Y'all know who he is. He works in the employment in Cincinnati now. But they let me hire a trainee in June. Then we go to Frisco in August, and I told him, I said, don't unpack anything in your desk because you may not have a job when I get back. And I told her the same thing. You may not have a job when I return, and that's the truth. When we left, it was a toss-up. If Dick won, it was good. If Dick didn't win, it was all bad. Next with Dick. I don't know how many of these were bought, but there must have been 1,000 of them on the floor. And every time somebody would say Dick, or somebody would say Marge, 1,000 at a time, and they would have to rap the gavel, and you couldn't hear the gavel over the clips. But we prevailed with a lot of sweat. I think I slept, and in 7 days, or 6 days, I think I slept 12 hours. Probably lost 10 pounds. Didn't have anything to drink until after the convention was over, and I did like Dick. I went and got drunk. But I'm telling you this, y'all know all of these things. Y'all know how important Dick March is to you and to the DAV. Y'all know that. But what you don't understand is the personal part. Dick had my life, my future in his hands. He didn't know that. I mean, he knew it, but he didn't know it, okay? What he did for me, if we lost at that convention, Dick was still going to be important in Wisconsin. He was still going to do what he did in Wisconsin. He would not be the national commander, and they would shun him for a year or two. But Dick would still be Dick. If he lost, I wouldn't have a job. My family wouldn't have an income. I would have to start over again, and I'm a crippled Marine, okay? What's a crippled Marine worth? I can't chase people down anymore. But the thing is that, to me, Dick Marks is the George Washington of the DAV. He probably did. But you know what? He's not going to get in trouble for it. I'm sorry I got emotional, but it's hard not to be emotional. I asked to come to this convention so I could give this speech to you in Wisconsin, so you would really know. Y'all know how important he is. Dick's Dick. But to me, Dick is everything. Dick kept me in the DAV. Dick gave me a future. And he made it possible for me to be an area supervisor and to do my work in the department as I was the assistant for a while, and as after Dick took over, I was the adjutant for 8 years, and I became area supervisor, so I had to give up adjutant. And now I'm the judge for the department. I'm the department inspector, and most importantly, I get to represent the DAV in front of you today. And I hope I'm doing DAV justice. Anyhow, I've talked enough. Y'all have watched me cry enough. Let's have some fun. I want to tell you how much that I appreciate. Oh, by the way, how do you like my bow tie?
Love it.
When I went before the nominating committee last year, I called a good friend of mine, past National Commander Ron Hope, to take me to the nominating committee, and I called Bobby Barrera as well, and they both agreed to take me, and Ron said, I'm going to wear a red bow tie. And I thought, why? And he said, I bought you one. I said, okay. So it turns out that Ron and I wore red bow ties to the nominating committee. Bobby didn't have one. We didn't tell him in advance, so he wore a red tie. And then I thought tonight I would dress up so I could look pretty for George Washington. Anyway, I'm honored to share the bonds of friendship and family with people such as you. I listened to I sat through the convention, and it was not hard to sit through the convention except for one person. But every time I tried to do something, he'd tell me no. Anyway, I sat through the convention, and I commented to the commander, and I commented to Dick, and I commented to a couple of other people that when the committee people, the committee chairman gave their reports, they gave those from their heart, and they gave them with such excitement that you wanted to get up and be part of what they were doing. And I wished I could take that with me to every place I go and share it with all of the other departments. You don't see that often. I mean, some guy's talking about something that in another department nobody would care about, but they did it in such a way that it made everybody in the audience listen, and it made everybody in the audience want to be a part of what he's reporting on. And that's phenomenal. So Wisconsin is a great place to be. Finally, I know you're tired of listening to me, and I'm tired of talking to you. I'm really not, but I can't say much more. Maxine and I thank you so very, very much for allowing us to be a part of your family. And that's what we are. We are all family. You're all my brothers and sisters. Some of you are probably my nieces and nephews, but most of you are brothers and sisters. We've got some young people in here that I was born before their parents were, you know? So anyway, it's been such a pleasure to be here. Finally, may God bless you and yours. May He continue to bless the men and women who are currently in harm's way. May He bless your family and my family, and may He continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.